This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr., and no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, as always, I greatly appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. Coming up, we have some breaking news to hit on the injury front for San Francisco following their first practice of training camp, a lot of developments, roster battles, and also a day one practice reaction. George Kittle with training camp underway. He's all smiles, holding up that training camp sign. By the way, I need this shirt. Little Grateful Dead Niners collaboration, looking very fresh. As for Nick Bosa, he just rolled right in to Niners training camp. You see what I did there? The Niners Twitter page on X posting this video of Bosa on an electric scooter, taking it to the practice field at the SAP Performance Center in Santa Clara. I think Bosa is poised for a big year. And the last 2 years, his sack numbers have been down. I think with more help along the defensive line, Bosa has more of a 2022 Defensive Player of the Year campaign as compared to that lack of sack production the last couple of years. But don't let the lack of sack numbers fool you. Bosa has still been one of the top pass rushers in the game the last 2 seasons, and he's still one of the top defensive players in football. But he hasn't had a lot of help along that defensive line. But with drafting Mykel Williams, who had a great practice today, by trading for Bryce Huff, by adding a couple of spry, young, powerful, athletic defensive tackles, with Robert Saleh returning, I think it paves the way for Bosa to have a monster 2025. Last year, he was still really good. He just missed a couple of games with that injury. As for a Juan Jennings update, this is fantastic. There is no holdout for number 15. There is no hold in for Mr. Jauan, third and Jauan, the big-time, big-play wide receiver who's come up so clutch for San Francisco on numerous occasions in the biggest of games, when the pressure cooker is on, in the biggest of moments throughout his entire Niners career. He showed up to the start of training camp. He reported yesterday, and instead of having some phantom injury, which would lead to him not practicing, he was on the practice field, caught 3 passes today, and had one of the highlight plays of practice where he had to go up and get it and reel down another 50-50 ball because that's just what he does. And this is the way to handle business. You want a new contract? You want a bag? Be a model teammate, earn it, and be a football guy. Juan Jennings, the ultimate football guy. And it seems like everything is fine and dandy. Or at least it seems as though Juan Jennings, Kyle Shanahan, and John Lynch are on a good note. They're on a good page here. This is Jennings dapping up Shanahan, dapping up John Lynch. It's good to see that there isn't any hostility between the Niners wide receiver, who right now is the number 1 wideout with no Brandon Ayuk and Ricky Pearsall not practicing, and the Niners brass. And this is also somewhat refreshing, right? That Jennings is handling his contract situation in a way where he's all business, and he's not letting contract negotiations or wanting a new deal get in the way of his preparations for the 2025 season. Instead, he's leading the huddle for the Niners receivers. He is being a model teammate, and he's going out there and proving why he's been so valuable, proving that he's a consummate pro and a great leader, and it makes the Niners' decision to potentially compensate him easier. There's no social media tactics and cryptic Instagram posts or TikTok videos like we saw with Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. Juan Jennings is all about ball. And Brock Purdy even said it yesterday, that when you have your full arsenal of weapons, or at least you're able to work with some of your weapons during training camp, those reps are really important because it gets you ready for the regular season. Working on timing, working on anticipation, working on feel, working on routes, and working on some of the nuances of football that you can't work on if you're not practicing. Football is such a complex game. It's beautiful, but there's 11 people on the field on each side of the ball at every moment. And the finest of details are very, very crucial to making a play work. As for what Kyle Shanahan said about whether or not it makes the Niners' decision to pay Jennings easier when he's practicing, he said, yeah, it kind of does. We know Jauan. Jauan knows us. I think the other way, compared to him not practicing, makes it harder. I don't compare things to other years and other people. People have plans, and it's a business plan. It's usually a plan between the player and the agent. You see it happen all over the league. It happened with us, and it's something I try to not get too worked up about because there's not much I can do about it. I always try to recommend to them what I think will help them the most, and I think Juan Jennings is doing that. That's good news on the Niners wide receiver front. Bad news. We are one practice in, and the breakout star from the spring at the wide receiver position, a player who the Niners need right now and would like to have produce and be productive in year 2 because he has 4.4 speed, he's shifty, and he's very dynamic, is Jacob Cowing. The second-year wide receiver coming off a terrific spring where he was making plays left and right, injured his hamstring today. Kyle Shanahan was speaking glowingly of Jacob Cowing during the spring, and he said this about Cowing too. I thought Jake had one of the best OTAs out of anybody on our team in terms of the most improved and the most prepared. Well, today he goes down with the hamstring injury, and the worst part, he got hurt running routes against air. I feel bad for him because he was working with rookie Pearsall, Brock Purdy all offseason, had a really good spring. He knows how big this year 2 is for him coming up. He probably worked to get in tip-top shape. I know he added a lot of muscle and looked a lot bigger this year as compared to his rookie year, and then the hamstring just goes. It is such a fluky injury for it to happen when he's just running routes during drills, and we know very well about the complexities with soft tissue and hamstring issues. Sometimes they can last for a very long time. Hopefully that's not the case with Jacob Cowing. So this is not good for the Niners at wide receiver because of all of the question marks there. Yes, Juan Jennings is practicing with the Niners, but obviously he wants that new deal. Brandon Ayuk, John Lynch said yesterday, we're nowhere close to having a concrete timeline for when he's going to be able to come back. And so today, the Niners' top 2 wide receivers on the first day of camp, Juan Jennings and Demarcus Robinson, the latter of whom we're not sure if the NFL is going to come down on him with a suspension because of that DUI arrest last year. Now, another positive development is that Jordan Watkins, the 4th-round pick out of Ole Miss, had a monster spring. Brock Purdy saying about him then, he's been balling out, and today he looked the part. We'll see what happens when the pads actually come on, but he has 4.3 speed. He has a built lower half, very reliable hands. Last year, one of the most explosive wide receivers in college football for Ole Miss, the only player to have 5+ catches of 60+ yards in the country. And then we also have a Ricky Pearsall injury update. The situation has been weird, and we'll get to that in a moment. But Brad of SF Niners posting this video on X of Pearsall doing some sprints here to my right. He looks pretty good. There's some explosion there. There's a little bit of long speed. Kyle Shanahan did say yesterday that he has reached his top miles per hour as far as his speed goes. But then when you run routes, when you're partaking in 7-on-7s, 11-on-11s, and you're going up against DBs and you have to be shiftier, more explosive, you might have to stride out, that's where the concerns come in with the hamstring ailment. And yesterday I posted this on X. Are the Niners being honest and transparent about the Ricky Pearsall injury situation? Because Kyle Shanahan said during mandatory minicamp that Pearsall could have practiced if he needed to, but the Niners were being safe, erring on the side of caution. Shanahan said then he'd be ready for training camp. But then last Friday, the Niners put Pearsall on PUP. And then yesterday, on Tuesday, Kyle Shanahan said, quote, Ricky had a bad hamstring in OTAs. So it wasn't serious, then it became bad. But then Shanahan said, I mean, not real bad, a normal one. What? You talk about mixed messaging and putting your foot in your mouth. Kyle Shanahan doing himself no favors there. Now, we're only starting to take flight on today's show. Coming up next, day 1 training camp practice reaction. Roster battles, who shined. That's all coming up here just around the corner. But first, look at these boots from our friends at Brunt. Real leather, very durable. Most importantly, very comfortable. These are awesome boots here. These are the Marin boots. And I wear them if I'm laying a deck down, doing some woodwork, because contrary to popular belief, I like to get my hands dirty. And I'm a handyman outside of just talking football here on screen. And Brunt's best-selling Marin work boots, not only built for the toughest job sites, they're completely waterproof. Whether it's rain, mud, or standing water, your feet stay dry. From oily workshop floors to muddy farm fields and everywhere in between, the Marin 6-inch soft toe is built for workers across a variety of trades. Brunt isn't just about work boots, by the way. They offer a full range of high-performance gear built for tough jobs. From heavy-duty work pants to weather-resistant jackets, Brunt designs durable, reliable workwear to keep you protected and productive in any condition. For those of us who have had long, hard days in tough elements, whether that be mud, rain, working in the sand, working in the heat, if you don't have comfortable work boots, it makes those long days even longer and the hard days even harder. It is so crucial to have comfortable footing, but also protective footing as well in case you drop a 2x4 on your foot if you're laying down a deck, something along those lines. In high school, my favorite class was wood shop. So I'd put on boots like this, and we'd get to work, and I would build a variety of things. Adirondack chairs, tables, side tables, coffee tables. I even one time built a batting helmet and bat holder for my baseball team. It is still there, Bayard Rustin High School. And so give your feet a breather with Brunt. You get $10 off if you use our code CHAT at bruntworkwear.com/chat. I'm going to put that link down below in the comment section, in the description, and attached to the pinned comment of today's San Francisco 49ers report. Thanks to Brunt for making today's show possible. All right, day one practice reaction. Trent Williams did practice today. He was seen walking onto the practice field, pumped up, ready to go. The Niners will manage his workload during camp. Christian McCaffrey also practicing today. He looked spry, very explosive, very healthy. Saw him catching passes and getting some carries. He looks good as compared to last year. The Niners, of course, are also going to manage his workload during camp. The injury statuses, respectively, for Trent Williams and Christian McCaffrey, so important for this Niners offense in 2025. Mykel Williams, the rookie out of Georgia, 11th overall pick, followed Nick Bosa in drills. He was getting run with the ones along that defensive line, and he had maybe the most eye-opening, impressive play of the day, where he slid inside to defensive tackle and bulldozed Dominic Puni, who is a top 10 guard in all of football. Very impressive rep there. That is the NFL power and size that I talk about. And when he was at Georgia, sometimes he would line up at defensive end. Sometimes he would line up at defensive tackle. Chris Kosaric, Robert Saleh like to do that, especially as part of their NASCAR package. Mykel Williams being able to do both is a good sign for him, just being able to have an impact as a rookie this year. At left guard, with no Ben Barch, he's on the non-football injury list because of a quad injury that he suffered while training. It was Nick Sakel as the first-string left guard. Look, I've seen a lot from Nick Sakel, and a lot of it hasn't been great. Hopefully he can take a big leap. Luke Gifford started with the ones at off-ball linebacker alongside Fred Warner. He's primarily been a special teams player so far in his career since being a UDFA out of Nebraska. He's been a really good special teamer. But do the Niners have plans for him to be an off-ball linebacker, for him to get defensive snaps? We will certainly see. Now, ideally, D. Winters gets that job. And Kyle Shanahan said D. Winters has as good of an opportunity as anybody to earn a significant role this year. And he had one of the highlights of the day. He undercut a Brock Purdy throw and intercepted the Niners franchise quarterback. Fred Warner yesterday on his linebacker running mate said this about Winters, quote, "I see that guy ready to take that next step," and he's very excited to see what Winters can do. So am I, because the play style is so intriguing, entertaining to watch. Spencer Burford, who the Niners drafted out of UTSA, they've used him primarily as a guard. We know what happened in Super Bowl 58 when he had the wrong assignment and he let Chris Jones just walk free to Brock Purdy on that critical down in the red zone. The Niners, all offseason, have been experimenting with him at offensive tackle. So today he backed up Trent Williams at left tackle with Andre Dillard starting camp on PUP. The Niners also added Trey Brown in free agency to a very cheap deal, former fourth-round pick by the Seattle Seahawks out of Oklahoma. He's played sparingly with Seattle, hasn't been healthy a lot, nor has he really played at a very high level, but he could play inside, outside. The Niners have plans to maybe use him inside and outside. He had an interception today. Looks as though he could be a decent addition for San Francisco. On the first play offensively to start off training camp, it was Brock Purdy hitting George Kittle on a long ball, and Kittle was very excited that the Niners were able to start training camp off with the bang, with the Niners having question marks at wide receiver, trading away Deebo Samuel, adding Luke Farrell to have blocking duties at tight end. Expect this connection to be steady this year. And I think that George Kittle, if he can stay healthy, can have a very productive pass-catching season because he's not ideally going to be used as much as a blocker. Juan Jennings, as I mentioned earlier, had another great contested catch. At this point, this is just what Juan Jennings does. And let's talk about the kicker battle. Both Jake Moody and Greg Joseph, who are competing to be this team's kicker, had 4 attempts. They both went perfect. Given where Jake Moody was drafted in the 3rd round a couple of years ago, given his struggles last year, the pressure is on him. And a lot of eyes will be on him. Now, oftentimes, position players don't really care about the kicker battle. Nick Bosa knows how important it is because kickers can win and lose you games, especially with how much Jake Moody struggled last year. And so Nick Bosa said something very interesting today. He said, I actually am paying close attention to the kicker battle. I can't lie, and it's exciting. The Niners know deep down how important that kicker battle is because they can't cost themselves points in a league where a majority of games are decided by 1 score or less. Another reminder, hit that subscribe button for daily Niners coverage right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. And in addition to always talking Niners here on YouTube, I cover the Niners on my social media pages, so give me a follow over there at Chase_Senior, reaching millions of people on X and Instagram every single month.